Hey, so people are hyped, Mira, because they were like, I love her. I know, she's the best. Okay, so let's kind of just get into it. And if you want to, just kind of share about you. Don't leave out the part where, you went to Harvard and Georgetown and were Mrs. Smarty Pants. Everybody wants to hear all that. So bring it.
All right. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. So I think some of you probably have heard my story a little bit, but here's kind of in a nutshell. I went through kind of my 20s and most of my 30s just doing like really, by the book corporate America stuff. I went to law school and started in big law firms in New York and Boston and climbed the ranks there in healthcare law, and then kind of jumped to the corporate business side of healthcare. And so by the time that I found it works, I was 38 years old and a corporate vice president for a $2 billion healthcare system up in northern New England. I live in Portland, Maine area. And by, if you looked at me from the outside, you totally would have been like, no way is this person gonna want to do network marketing. Like maybe I can hit her up to buy some like $400 package of products or whatever. I was like the person that you look for that. But we were secretly totally drowning in debt. I'm now divorced, but my husband at the time had started a business when we were in our early 30s. And like I said, I was 38 when I found the business. And he was also where he left kind of a stable income. And that business never took off. And we kind of hid that for years, and he tried to like cobble it together. And so our finances were a total wreck by the time I saw or found the business. And I had a very similar story to a lot of people. I was watching a friend for almost a year, kind of at first sort of laughing at her and be like, ha ha ha. And she literally, was 3 minutes down the street from me, like was in my wedding, like someone that I legit knew. And I was just like, oh, whatever, what is she doing? And then ended up, kind of watching more and more carefully as our finances continued to devolve. And then I, on the day that I enrolled, she posted that she'd earned a double diamond bonus of $30,000. And I remember sitting in my office and being like, what the heck? I might have said something else. And texted her and was like, can you get on the phone? Like, what are you doing? And that, I needed to see a bigger number, honestly, to kind of be like that shock value. But I called her and signed up on the phone. Then I knew almost nothing. Like I had sort of half tried the greens for 5 minutes, but just jumped in. And my why was really strong. I mean, I was the family accountant, so I was like constantly paranoid and scared about money for years and years and years. It was all on me because that was kind of my role. And and I there was no way to fix what was so broken, because we just literally had a life that was spending twice as much as, or set up to spend twice as much as we were bringing in at that point. So anyways, so I just got running. And obviously we can break down any parts of the story, as we get deeper into this. But I knew absolutely nothing. I was completely classic ignorance on fire, and got the Ruby bonus. In 4 weeks, we had the same $1,000 bonus. And then the diamond bonus that at that time at the end of my 4th month. So I went diamond in 4 months. And that's kind of when I was like, oh my gosh, like this business is going to do something for me that's like really huge. And that diamond income really started to turn the quality of our life, completely around. And so that's when I really honestly, like I was probably 8 months in before I really started paying attention to what other people were doing, any kind of training. Before that, and my upline was not very functional. Even though she was successful, she wasn't kind of a natural coach personality. So I just honestly figured lots of things out myself, or like guessed it out, I guess. But then really around that 8-10 month mark, I went to the first cruise that we had for It Works, and started really picking up great learnings. And then I went to my first conference basically a year in, and the next month promoted to double diamond with the same $30,000 bonus. And that was kind of honestly so much money for me, that the double salary and that bonus, that for 2 years, I really struggled with figuring out what was like, was that just what I was going to do? I had this, like at that point, 16 year career. Was I going to, just like ride out double diamond for, 20 years or something, or what was that? So that money really helped financially a huge amount in terms of paying off debt and just fixing the financial side of life, and ended up being awesome. But that my personal life continued to be up and down and struggling. And so we actually went through a divorce, my third year in the business. And so I was divorced on August 22nd of 2017, still double diamond. Really, that's all I thought I would ever be at that point. And all of a sudden I found both like all this negative emotion and toxicity kind of exited the scenario. Like I remember like literally the night after the divorce, I was like so free, like just felt like so much bad baggage was gone. But I also was suddenly a single mom. I got pretty much entirely, first primary custody of my son. So that really was a lot of shakeup for me. And then literally 2 weeks later, again, whatever your religion, like I just said, this is totally a God moment. 2 weeks later, Mary Beth Dodd entered my life. Just this weird coincidence. Stephanie had done and told Mary Beth, we've got a lot of people in Maine. And it wasn't just me. There were a lot of other, doubles and diamonds and stuff like that. And she's like, we need to do something in Maine. Like Joel and I can't get out there soon. So Mary Beth just like cobbled together, like there's no triple doing it, no press, just cobbled together an event in Maine. And so I met her, and she was the first person that really breathed real vision into me and belief. And of course we can talk about that too. So that combined with my personal changes, my environment getting very clear of toxicity, and my why really recrystallizing as a single mom, like I have to provide for this child, and this business is already going so well, like why not go for more? And then she really got in my face and challenged me. And so that started off the run that's now ended up with going triple in March and presidential in September. Huge mindset shifts, which I know we'll talk about tonight. Huge, massive changes in my why, you guys. Like you think 14, 15 months ago, I would have never guessed that I would retire from my job in June at an 18-year career. So, just great. This whole year has been just like crazy changes for the better. And and then I was able to build my dad. In this year, I built my dad up to triple. I have another girl on my team on a separate league that went triple as well, but I built my dad up to triple. So, and he lives with me. So I just take care of him because of health issues. So that's now $23,000 a month for my family, and $55,000 in bonuses just in this year, not even counting my bonuses in past years. So just everything has changed, like the freedom and the amazingness. And I can be with Camby whenever he needs me, which is so different when I was in a corporate job, 50 hours a week. So it's pretty sweet. But obviously not without tons of work and intention. So we'll talk about that tonight. So Kelsey, I know that a lot of the team here is your team, but yeah. I know for my team, just if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your story too, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things though that I wanted to point out about your story that I guess I never I didn't know the personal part of your divorce and how all that happened. But one thing that I picked up on is that really everything changed the moment you said bye to your old expectations of what your life should be, right? There was no more of I should have this house and I should be doing this and I should be in corporate America. All those shoulds went out the door, and you just said, I'm going to do what I want to do and see what happens. And it's amazing, the blessings that, you've had, and obviously through work and stuff. But, really just saying bye to feeling like you had to be a wife and you had to live this expectation that other people put on you, because I think a lot of us live in our other people's shoulds, and what they put on us. So I love that about your story. Okay, so for me, I joined for hair and nail money, y'all. I was like, I need to get my hair done. I need to get my nails done. My daughter's daycare expenses were kicking in. She was 5 months old, so she hadn't been at daycare, for 2 months. And I had expected that the maternity leave, um, you don't get paid full, like the way I had it on maternity leave is I only got a portion of what I would normally get. And so I figured, oh, well, when I go back to work, it'll pick up, right? And things won't be so tight. Well, I'm wrong. Because daycare came in and I didn't necessarily factor all that in. And I saw my bank account for 2 months and I was like, this ain't gonna work. Nope, I gotta find something. And just kept talking to Brian about it. And he just said, I feel like everybody has a side hustle. And I was like, I need to get one of those. Where can I get one? And I didn't want to get a job and I didn't want to like a second job away from my kids. But I'd seen Aaron post about it, Aaron tweet, and I was just like, oh my gosh, because I pictured my life in corporate America too. I'd gone to school, got my degree, graduated a year early. Like I had done everything right, had good grades, all that stuff. And, I'm kind of like, I think that I'm a lot like Pam in the sense of, I always kind of knew that I would be rich. I just didn't know how, because I knew that I really wouldn't settle for anything less. Like I would be like out there doing whatever. But I just had this like standard for my life that I was like, I gotta do. I like nice things, and it's not because I am like shallow. It's just because that's the way that I want to live my life. Is I want to live in a nice house. I don't want to have to worry like and stress about bills. Like I don't want to be a prisoner to my bank account. And so, I figured, okay, let me just try this. Like long story short, I was like, let me just try this and see what happens. But I feel like my husband was like, before I joined, he was really just like, you just got to do it. Like if you're going to do it, like you actually have to do it and not half-ass it, excuse my French, but like you have to like just do it. And so I just kind of did it. Like I don't even know really what I did. It's hard for me to go back and remember like how I went diamond in 4 months and how my all of that happened. But I just freaking did it. And because what was my option? And it was hard. And I remember it feeling hard. And I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, when is my paycheck going to start showing all the work that I've been doing? And when is this going to, I remember those feelings. It's funny how you can remember those feelings, but you forget the work. And so often we get so caught up in, well, we don't want to do the work, but you don't really remember like all the work. You just remember the feelings that are associated with frustration, joy, all those things. And so, I went so I went diamond in July, double, both Brian and I went double in March of the next year. Then we went triple the March of the following year, so 2017, and then we just went pres in September. And so it's been crazy, but it's been amazing. And I think the best part is that I've just been able to like learn that really I can go get whatever I want as long as I'm willing to put in the work. This is a vehicle, and if I want to put my pedal to the metal, it could go as fast and go 100 miles per hour if I wanted to. And it's just all up to me. So I love having that always being challenged and never being bored type mentality. There's always a what's next here at It Works. And at my other jobs, that was almost discouraged. It was almost like if you asked why things, okay, well, why are things this way? I remember asking at my old job, and it was like this bank, small bank. And they were like, well, that's just the way we've always done it. And it was like, made me cringe. And I was like, oh gosh, like you do not want me here because this is about to like a bull in a china shop. So, yeah, so it's been amazing. But, so Mira, let's talk about, I know this actually wasn't even in what we talked about, but I feel like there's a lot of people who have life happen to them in this business. We know that something life changing, life altering happens, whether it's a move, a divorce, a marriage, a baby, whatever it is, good or bad, just something in life happens every 9 months, right? And how to figure out, what do we do with a business when this is happening? And how did you kind of, through your divorce, like through all of that stuff going on, stay positive about the business and not feel like, oh, this is too much, I got to stop?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and one that I've seen so many of people struggle with on my own team as well. For me, one of the things that I really preach is that, you know, we want to be authentic on social media platforms, but sometimes you do need to fake it. Like if you're going through a really serious thing, you do need to keep, you need to keep your brand up. You need to keep your presence up. And you can be real about what you're going through, but you got to keep an element of positivity about it. The biggest thing that I see people do is they shut their business down. And for me, I already put in so much work in my first year and a half, 2 years. It's like, well, and at that point I did not see the business being the vehicle that it ended up becoming the last year and a half. But it was more like, well, I need to get at least a diamond check, if not a double diamond check, to keep paying my bills, to pay for the lawyer, all that jazz. And so I tell people all the time, look, you can go through periods of time where maybe you don't message a lot of people and the like, but you must keep your branding up. And I think it's really important. And that's what I did. Kelsey, I also had a team I felt obligated to, even if I'm not enrolling right now because I'm in a bad place mentally, I'm going to keep posting because I'm a role model for them. If I don't do it, they're not going to do it. And even if your team's 3 people, that's true. So you put all this time in, and the biggest thing that I love about this business is that you can have seasons, but just like you were saying, you can have seasons where you push so hard and have huge goals. And then you can have seasons where, because of usually external things, you take it down a notch or 2. And I mean, obviously none of us really recommend that, but life happens, right? The biggest thing is to stay consistent in terms of your exterior branding, and to really keep that going. And that's what I did. I never missed a day of posting. I never missed a day where I wasn't there for my team, giving them projects and all of that. And I was incredibly self-aware about this. So there were 2 months, the month that I filed for the divorce, and then the month that we had the actual final hearing in August. So March and August of 2017. Where I don't think, I'm a mass enroller of distributors, but I literally, I'm not sure that I enrolled a distributor at all in March, and I definitely had a goose egg in August of 2017. I was the last thing I want to do is to talk to people to become business, but you could never tell that from my timeline. I posted every day. I was in my team page every day cheering people on. And so I just took the best parts of it that I could then, which was really the social aspects of it, and the fact that I had built a brand and kept going. And then literally the next month, in September of 2017, the month after I enrolled nobody, I enrolled I went on fire mentally, and I enrolled 3 runners that would end up going diamond. Okay, on different parts of my chart. So this is why you do not stop branding, because if I'd shut down the business, who knows what would have happened. And you also have to, like I said, be self-aware and give yourself grace. So right now, I have people on my team that are writing me that haven't posted 3 or 4 days in a row. And they're like, I'm just so busy. I'm like, throw up a damn post. I don't even care if you message people right now. You cannot shut down your brand for a day, because then on December 26th, you got to have the Beachbody girls and the Arbonne girls and all them and posting about all their weight loss stuff. You want to be the person that people remember when you're ready to build your business. So that's my biggest thing, is give yourself grace. If you need to take, all the back work, maybe take that down a notch, but take care of your team, take care of your customers, and keep your branding up. And then just know that you're going to hit a season again where you're ready to build, and you want to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's such amazing advice, and just realizing the devil is going to come hard right before your biggest blessings, because he knows, like Claire was saying earlier on the Zoom that we were on, it's he knows that he doesn't want good people in influence positions and leadership positions and whatever. And so a lot of times, right when you feel just giving up, there's, I always say, right when you're about to hit your victory, there's all these exit signs, right? And it's like you're in the city, and it's getting, exit signs are getting closer together, and there's oh my gosh, is this a sign I should quit? Or is this a sign I should stop? Or is this a sign I should slow down? But the reality of it is you're getting closer and closer to where you're trying to go. And it's, the journey is not meant to be easy. It's just meant it never was promised to be easy. It was promised to make you better. And that's how it can get easier, is that you just get better. And so, you know, whenever I'm going through something, I'm the same way as you. Is I'm very vulnerable with my team. My team knows like everything, you know, that goes on. But one of the things that I always tell myself is, don't tell your team what happened until you have a lesson in it. You know, otherwise you're just complaining. You know, if you have something and you can say, you know, I know we always try to be relatable, and we always try to say, I know my host post stuck right now too, or, oh, I know this and that, but it's like, that's not doing anybody any good. You're giving them permission to slow down. Really what you need to say is, oh my gosh, like it might not be hosted posts, it might be something else, but oh my gosh, dude, I remember when I thought my hosted posts weren't good, but I tried this and this and this, and you're providing a solution, right? Don't go to people, especially your team, when you don't have a solution yet about a problem. Only that then you want to go to people, your team, when it's become a lesson. And if not, just tell them like, hey, you guys, like, I'm here for you. And you will be surprised. Like whenever I'm going through stuff, when I'm helping somebody else or when I'm coaching my team, like I get reinvigorated. Like it's actually more therapeutic for me sometimes than it probably is the other person. And so you don't realize, like you might think, oh my gosh, I can't help this person because I can't even barely help myself. But you have to realize like just being there and just listening to that person can do so much for them, and it can do so much for you. So don't let the devil get inside of your head and think that you don't add value just because, you know, you're not going through a perfect season, because so much value comes from those not perfect seasons. Okay, so let's talk about how you're getting through a holiday season right now, and what to expect coming up with the boom season, and kind of like just your mindset tips.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, also Kelsey and I are very transparent that we have a very large promotion at some point in 2019. And that, that also is on my mind, to be honest with you, Kelsey, during this season as well, ambassador. And so having gone through, I think this is my 4th December. The biggest thing is that if whatever you walk into a time period, a month, whatever it is, as your mental expectation, I don't mean to be super cliche, but honestly, whatever you say it is, that's what it's going to be. So if you come into the season, you say this is going to be a slow season or whatever, like it's going to be slow. All right. You're going to be like, I'm really busy and I'm just going to do a lot after January 1st. You know what's going to happen is your enrollments are going to drop off. You're going to do posts that are not interesting. They have no energy behind them. And so people will not reach out to you anymore. Whereas if you were doing super personal products and high energy stuff and really invested and believed in yourself. So I think the first thing is, when you're during the season, and honestly, it's going real fast. So we only have like 10, week left or whatever till Christmas. But it's really important to, keep your energy high, keep your authentic posts, be personal, and all of that. Because like I was saying earlier, I'm telling you, the branding that you lay down now, the networking that you lay down now, because people are reaching out to you or liking, commenting on posts or seeing your posts, however it works. And the work behind adding people right now, that's going to be your audience, your potential distributors that will explode your business in December, January, February. End of December, and then into January and February. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago when I had a really big breakthrough and got my double to the point where it was really solid. December, I just didn't stop working, Kelsey, but I didn't get a lot of enrollments. But in January, I signed 14 distributors. It was the first time I'd ever hit over 10 in 1 month. And that was because I was like, I just put the blinders on and worked through. So we only have a week left, but from a mindset perspective, the number one thing I'd say is that just know, like, there's so much coming in the next 10 to 14 days. And then on, you want to be touching as many people as you can, whether that's, and I gave my team a message today that anticipated that some people might order after Christmas, but we were talking about, we just launched these new packs. They have all of our favorite products. You can mix and match a little bit with the different packs, so they all have different things. Like, I want you to know about this, whether you're interested now or right after Christmas feeling better. planting the seed again. So they are you are the person that they think of. So I think that's a biggest thing I'd say is like the energy has to stay almost up a higher notch so that when, literally like people are looking for solutions, they think of you first and foremost and not another brand or GNC or walking to their Planet Fitness or whatever the heck it is. And so that's kind of what I would say about this season. Boom season, if you've been doing your work and continue to do your work, just hold on to your hat. That's all I can say about that. And don't even try to like control it. Like just go with it and work as hard as you can and be as, just be out there as much as you can. But right now, this is the season to be really planning the season. I don't know like what your experience has been in this month, but I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah. This winter season has actually been totally different than any of the winter seasons that I've been in the past. Just because like the energy is so much higher than it had been. In the past, it was kind of like everybody was it was like the calm before the storm. Cause everybody knew what was going to come at conference. And, to be honest, sometimes if you're going through that, it can feel like, what am I doing wrong? You're questioning yourself. You're saying, do I need to change something? Is this not working anymore? But really, it's external things sometimes, but also we have to remember, and this is what I've remembered this season. And I think that this season I really haven't experienced, like my volume has been creeping up, almost every month. And so I think what we have to realize is that, yes, it is a mindset, but it's also an energy level. And the energy level is going to come from the mindset or vice versa, right? Depends. You can have high energy and then your mindset gets better, or you can have a great mindset and your energy gets better. And so you have to have both of those things to work together, right? So if you don't feel the energy right now, then you need to get around the fire and get your mindset right. And if you don't have the right mindset, then you need to watch some self-development, do some self-development, start projecting and writing and journaling and figuring out, what do you want? What do you want? And when you start doing that, you'll see so much of that stuff come to fruition, and you won't even know it unless you wrote it down. And so I want you guys, that would be some homework that I have, is just making sure you're writing 10 things that you want to have happen in the next 90 days. And watch all of those things be checked off your list. I promise, it is so crazy how quick things can happen in this business. And just like we were talking about, like, this is the season where it's like, I mean, Mira, you're in law school, right? This is the season where it's like, all right, are you passing your first year of law school? Because this is when we're weeding people out, right? Where we're figuring out, how bad do you really want it? And this is the point. And so if you're planting seeds, and Brian, my husband, said the other day, he said, there will come a time when spring will ask, what have you been doing all winter? And I was like, hey, that's so good. Because it's so true. Like, the people who have been planting the seeds are the one who signed 14 distributors in January, are the ones who, because it's just, people are going to do it when they're ready. And sometimes, and you guys have heard me say this too before, but you can't control when the flower sprouts, but you know how many seeds you're planting. And that's something you can control. And so make sure that you have the seeds planted to have a harvest, and a freaking massive harvest come January, February, March, April, and have that momentum just continue. So for me, we have to remember, like, the holidays are freaking 4 days. Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and New Year's. That's 4 days, you guys. Stop letting 4 days define how months go in your business. That does not need to be the case. That is simply something that, we've put in our heads just to convince ourselves, oh, well, we don't, this is an excuse for why things aren't. And the biggest thing I've realized is, if we have those thoughts, it's because we haven't overcome that objection in our mind yet. If you haven't said, oh, well, Christmas, why aren't people signing up around Christmas? Number one, people's bank accounts are hella low, and they realize they're low. And so that's when they should join. But two, these are awesome gifts for people. People need to prep for the new year, right? If they don't order within the next week, they're probably not going to get their products till after January 1. And everybody wants to start on January 1, their New Year's resolutions. And so keeping all of those things in mind, we have to debunk our own thoughts. We have to say, dang, we don't want that thought, not just push it to the side, but let's figure out why that's not even true. So for me, that's kind of how I do it. And then boom season, like you said, man, just hold on to your freaking hat. Like just hold on to everything because, and you know what? There's some people that were like, I don't feel that. And I'm like, it's because you weren't doing anything for the last 3 months. You weren't, and so you will get rewarded. All of your hard work is not going to go unrewarded. It's going to be rewarded. It's just a matter of how much are you doing. And so how much can God actually bless? And I know for me, like, I feel like when it's boom season, I'm literally back to ignorance on fire because I'm just so excited. I don't even think about what I'm saying. I barely use scripts anymore. I just use voice messages. I don't even because I'm just like, there's so many people to talk to. And you just go from one conversation to the other conversation to the other conversation. And you literally are just going. And you don't need to think about it so much. And that's what I love is that there's not really that much time to think because, you're talking to people, you're having conversations, you're training newbies, you're getting them excited, you're casting the vision. And you guys, why January is better is because it's here. Is because we're a fresh start. We see where we're going. Our vision is very clear, but we can have that all year long. We just have to keep our vision clear. Rub out your glasses, get all the smears off. And that's what happens over the months is that we get that clouded vision. But January comes and the freaking all of the smoke is removed and we can see very clear about where we're going. And so do things to help that vision remain in place. Write the vision that you have on your wall. Write it down in your journal. Rewrite it in your journal, rewrite it again after that in your journal, and make sure that it's everywhere so that whenever you are feeling discouraged, because those days will come when you see Joe Blow over there sign 15 people and you've signed 5 and you're like, dang, I thought 5 was good until Joe Blow went over here and signed 15. You're going to have those days. We all have them, but just recognize I know what's for me has my name on it and it's my turn to go get it. Okay. Mira, next question. How do you build your business now versus what you did when you were like a ruby and an emerald?
Yeah. So well, in terms of social media, I'm 100% Facebook. So I don't use Instagram, at least yet. And that was when I started. You got to get on Instagram. Come on. Not barely on Instagram. And partially that's just honestly, guys, like I'm in my 40s and I'm not saying there's not anybody in their 40s on Instagram, but it's like, it's not me.
Girl, you have this whole untapped market because I run across 40-year-old girls.
I know. I gotta get on that.
Yeah, but 20-year-olds aren't messaging 40-year-olds. So you have this whole free market.
Definitely not. But yeah, so I build on Facebook. I use attraction marketing now. So if you look at my timeline, and it's all public at this point on Facebook, I'm really using a combination of kind of personal testimony, personal experience, really like putting my life out there. I don't pretend to be perfect. I don't pretend to have it all figured out. And I'm very, very honest about my story, the ugly parts of my finances and all of that stuff. And that's really connected to people. And I think it's just so honest I get so many messages just straight from people without me having to message them because the story touches something in them that they're going through on some level. And there's different components of it, being a single mom, the financial piece coming out of corporate America, being in my 40s and not having a financial, a platform to be stable on, but before this, all of that connects different things. So you really want to find those different themes in your own life and just be really loud about them, but like not in a totally true and authentic way as well, because the genuineness definitely comes across. And so I build a lot through that, to be honest with you. So most of I definitely message a lot for distributors. And I focus, most months I focus on distributors and less on customers unless I'm going through a promotion month. And then we have been doing host to post for weight loss for months to get volume. And that's been awesome. So it's a combination of host to post messaging and kind of more of the attraction marketing. I've had a lot of success the last 2 or 3 months with live videos on the business. I just think people being able to see that you're real and just hearing different snippets of your story, and I kind of change up the theme each time. So like, just think about when I tell you this, like, just think about what might be relevant for you. But like, I might be doing one time on how did I build a business while I was working full time? Or the next one might be like, how is this different from being corporate America? You know, like I pick up little themes in my story. It's like a lot of the same story, but each time, you know, it breaks in. And then I'm a green. I have a lot of greens, so I'll do like a super green one, which is like, how do we get paid? You know, like the reds and the blues are like, whatever, we just get paid. It's fine. I kind of mix that up. And live videos have been really good to me. I swear in November, every live video I did, I signed at least one distributor, and some I just signed 3 to 5. And these were cold messages to me. Okay. So that's huge. So that also means I'm also churning my network a lot, you guys, between host to post and adding friends and all of that. So I'm really, really conscious of like I have to keep my interactions high and my network churn so that I can continue to have that. So the other thing that I do now I did really crappy posts when I started.
I have a quick question on your network.
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Do you ever like hit 5,000?
I'm very close now. And so I'm starting to go through and trim. And while I also
So how do you do that? Just print out your friends list?
Yeah, I'm literally staring at my Facebook friends list right now.
Okay.
Yeah, no, seriously, like literally I'm going through. You're talking to a green, Kelsey.
I know. That's why I'm like, oh my God.
There's like highlighted color systems, okay?
Oh my God. I'm like, I print out my friends list and I'm like, I'll just go to Instagram real quick.
Exactly. But yeah, so yeah, I definitely have to I'm pretty organized on that. I mean, I've got like super greens on my team that have like spreadsheets of every single human being they've talked to. I'm like, I have no idea. These are like emeralds, so they've talked to a lot of people. I'm like, oh. Anyways, so and then we've also really built a huge, even though we're very social media as a based, we've built a lot on parties the last 2 years as well. And what I found was once it took me a long time to buy into parties, but once I started doing them, I was like, whoa, because it was just an awesome way to get to get customers in for your new distributors, you know, for their first 4 or 5. And that was like, obviously something I probably could have guessed. But what surprised me, Kelsey, was that even though I always think of myself as an introvert because I was kind of going through a really rough time in my 30s, this business turned me back into the spirited extrovert I was when I was a teenager. And in my 20s, I was just so excited. So suddenly I was at these parties, I'm like, why am I talking so much? And I just had so much fun with them. And it actually, my energy was so high in person. And we have an insane close rate at parties. And so many parties where I've gone in and nobody was paying to be a distributor. And we've come out with like 2 distributors, you know? And I think just like, there's something about being in front of people, being, again, authentic, but also so excited. And so I have a huge local team, and it's just really shortcutted a lot for us. So we're about to go, my team will do a huge party push. We're actually starting to book those parties out into January. We'll do that all through boom season. So again, there's other teams doing this, but we're a very strong hybrid of social media and parties. And that starts with me, you know, kind of as the leader, really establishing that as an expectation, and then everybody doing it. I got to tell you too, like we have parties where nobody shows up. We turn those into power hours. No big deal. Turn them into training. If it's a brand new distributor, no big deal. I had a party last week where one person showed up. And that person is one of the most networked person in Portland, Maine that I've never met her. And she came in saying, I will never become a distributor. Don't even talk to me about it. And my newbie was so good. She was like planning all these questions to me, like, Mira, tell her about your story. Tell her how much money you make, like all this stuff, like the whole thing. But it was like very stealthily timed. And she signed up as a distributor. Again, one of the most networked people in Portland that, you know, and she became a distributor with one person at a party.
So that's the kind of stuff that happens. All right. So real quick, back in the day, I had horrible spammy posts. I have no idea how people signed up with me. They're like old graphics from the 80s. I don't think It Works even existed in the 80s, but for some reason the graphics were from the 80s, and it was horrible. So you can survive the spam era if you're new and that you kind of going through an era where you're finding yourself. I certainly did. It took me about 18 months to figure out how to really tell my story well, and that's a long time. So just have faith. Like, if you're still like, oh my God, I'm getting no interactions or blah, blah, blah. Like, it took me 18 months. And I'm sitting here making $23,000 a month because I did not quit. So just, again, I just begged a lot of people that first few months because the posts were not good. But that's a little bit about kind of where I started.
Yeah, I love that. And I love, I used to launch like everybody that was within like 4 hours of me. And I need to get back to doing that because I think that I just forget the power of that, because not only like I got to meet that person and, they got to sample the products and, there's so much value in that. Like you said, even if nobody shows up. So I love that. That's such an awesome reminder. So for me, I do most of it through social media. Like I said, I used to do a lot of like launches. If people were within driving distance, I would throw my freaking kids in the back of the car and be like, all right, let's roll. Like they would just nap. And it was a hot mess, but Matt got a lot of Green's chews along the way. That was my bribe to her. But you guys, it was a hot mess when I would do that. Like she literally peed on somebody's floor, like when she was potty training, like on some stranger. Like this girl wasn't even a distributor. It was at her mom's house or something. And I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. My daughter just peed on her floor. But it's fine. So, there's so many things that, Brian was on a Zoom with me the other day and somebody said like, how do you do it? And he said, because she just does like what most people wouldn't do. And that's like the driving, the 4 hours, the 2 kids in the back seat and like all of those things. Like, but it's not only that, it's just really, it comes to just doing it through the chaos, right? We talked about having life happen, but for me, like, I just don't really make that many excuses. And it's not that I don't sympathize with other people who go through things, because I know that people go through things, but like even we were moving, I'd committed to going to like the Chicago Rockford boot camp, right? And I committed to that, but we were moving literally the next day. My kids were starting a brand new school and I had all these reasons not to go. I was in Louisville, so it was going to be a 4-hour drive there, a 4-hour drive. Then I would have to go back to Indianapolis. Long story short, I just made it happen. Like, I just like was like, I'm just doing it because I said I was going to do it. And it's the same thing with the business. So for me, I just have non-negotiables that I do every single day, no matter what happens. And that's, we call it like the core 4. So post, message, follow up, and add to your network. And for me, like, that's it. Plus I do self-development all the time. Like, anytime I get a second in the car, like 10 minutes, 8 minutes, like most of the time people would just be like, oh, well, it's not long enough to listen to it. But like, sometimes I only need 8 minutes and I'm like, whoa, that was good. That got me going. Like, I'm ready. I'm all set for the day. And other times it takes a little bit longer, just depending on what you need that day. So for me, when I build, I just try to have a lot of conversations with people, and that's what we get paid to do, you guys. And so when I was fighting for Ruby and for Diamond, and even, Double, it was literally just connecting with my team, talking to them, asking how everything was going, but also making sure that I was working my own business and enrolling, because we're going to be so much more confident when we know, what to tell people and how to do it. Because if we don't know how to do it, how can we tell people how to do it? And then it doesn't become duplicatable. So for me, that was really it. And it was just trading off, right? Like trading off. I can't put my kids to bed tonight because I was signing 4 customers. So I feel really bad for myself, right? Like, because I'm going to be making a lot of money. So for me, that I didn't get to put my kids to bed every single night. But they're not going to remember that. Like, and I don't really feel like I've missed that many moments because I've got so many in return. I've literally, like, my investment of my time has returned tenfold, because who knows, like, how many things I would have to miss, how many times I would have to call off work, how many paychecks I would miss by calling in work and not being able to be there. And not, those are the things that you have to remember is like, okay, it might suck if you stay up till 2 a.m. and then you have to get up and do that. But like, there were so many times I did that and I just ran on adrenaline because I was so excited about it and I knew the vision. So for me, pushing was just having conversations with my husband when he was like, you're on your phone too much. And so we had to talk about it. And, you know, we had to have those discussions. Those are very real things that happen to a lot of people, but just communication and making sure like, hey, I'm working for something. And he saw how excited I was about it. And when you let people know how excited you are, that crap is contagious. Like, you know, nobody's going to get inspired by you being like, yeah, I joined this really awesome company and I'm going to earn like this bonus with it. And it's going to be really awesome. Like, who's inspired? Like nobody's feeling what you're saying. People have to feel what you're feeling. They have to feel what you're saying. People buy based on that. They want to join you when you know where you're going. And I just had a lot of confidence. Like when I got started, like, even though I'm not saying I didn't have days where I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this really going to happen? Or am I fooling myself? Like, I've had those days, but there's so many times where I just like shut that out. Like, I was just like, no, I'm doing this. Like, there wasn't another option for me because the other option was going to go back to work or going to work every single day for the foreseeable future, which sounded really boring to me and not like something I wanted to do. And it wasn't even because, you guys, I hated my job. Like, that wasn't it. I didn't even hate my job. I hated the lack of freedom I had because of my job. And those are two very different things, because it wasn't like every day I was like, oh, I got to go into work. It was like, I have to wake up to go into work at a certain time. That's the part that I hated, but somebody else was telling me when I needed to be there. But the work wasn't bad. That's not the part that I hated, but it was like, I don't want somebody to tell me I can only have 45 minutes for a freaking lunch. Or if we're busy that day, you might not get a lunch. Or if, you know, and it's like, that is for the birds. Like, that was not for me. And so I just decided, like, as I got in, my belief grew, and I'm blue. So I was always wanting to be like around other people. And by doing that, like by being around other people, my vision multiplied. You know, I remember going to a dream board party with Alyssa and Billy, and she was like, oh, what's your income goal this month? And I was like, well, my income goal for the next year is like, I want to make $10,000. It's my first year in the business. So I would make $10,000 a month. And she was like, what? You need to put 25 on there. And I was like, what? People don't actually make that much. She's like, you can totally do that this year. But I was like so mind blown that somebody would even say that to me. Nobody had ever told me, yeah, you can make $25,000 in a month. And then it just got my wheels turning. And so that was a huge important part of like me pushing. And also just me knowing that it's possible, like the vision, but also seeing Aaron do it. And that's why it's so important for you guys to promote, because when you do it, your team sees that they can get that ruby bonus, or they can get that emerald bonus, or they can get that diamond bonus, and their belief grows. Because I joined Aaron when she was a double diamond, you know, and now she's gone triple, prez, ambassador, executive, ruby, diamond, emerald, double diamond, and triple diamond on her 2.0. So I've seen her do all of that stuff. And I'm just like, the whole reason I joined is because I looked at her and I said, if she can do it, why can't I? And that's how I feel now about every single rank. And so you're helping so many other people by you promoting, because you're inspiring them and showing them that it's possible. So for me, that's kind of what it looked like. And now it's really the same. Like, I do a lot of the same stuff that I did when I was Ruby. I'm just better at it because I've been doing it more, right? So I'm more efficient with my time. So I'm able to get more done in that same time frame. You know, and some days I work, you know, 1 hour, and then some days I work freaking 9-10 hours, but it doesn't ever feel like that, right? Like, it's never like, oh God, I have to clock in and log in and work, put my hours in. Like, I don't ever feel like that. So, you know, sometimes it's like, I have to stop myself from working to be like, okay, like, I got to actually do the laundry, which nobody wants to do. And I have to actually cook dinner, maybe so be a wife, but that really actually doesn't happen. So, I just love doing the business because I love talking to people. So now I do a lot of the same stuff. I just do more of it, and it's changed, right? So like before we used to be a thing to post like 5-6 times a day. Now that's not really the cool thing. So now I post like 2 to 3 times a day. We have stories now with polls, and we have, all of these different things that's changed. So I've kind of grew in that, but being a student of the business is always being able to learn what's working for other people, not so that you always have to change what you're doing, but that's so you see, hey, if something's not working, let me go see what's working over here and just change it. It doesn't mean that like you're failing or you're a failure, but you just might need to adjust a couple things. So I think that that's something that's also helped, me continue to just have success, is that, being willing to adjust different things and not feeling like, oh, because it worked today means it's going to work a month from now. So yeah, that's it. Okay. So what are your like goal enrollments right now, if you have them, and what do you feel like you do to make sure those things happen every day?
Yeah. And I, just kind of building off of the last topic too, like with this question, whatever you think you can do is that's going to be your ceiling. So when I started, like for me to hit steps of success one time, get 4 customers and 3 distributors, like, I got, when you start out, like I obviously got more customers and less distributors, but after a few months, I definitely sort of settled into about a steps to success enroller. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I was super inconsistent. I was like consistent with loyal customers, only getting like 5 or 6 a month, and super inconsistent with distributors. So I get like 1 or 0 one month and then like 8 the next. And I think that I didn't really have a vision, Kelsey, of like what I should be enrolling, what I needed for my goals, even though I was agreeing. Forgive me. I didn't do the work behind it. And I really didn't believe that I could be like a quote unquote mass enroller, or whatever that meant. I just didn't have a number like I'm going to enroll 15 distributors and 40 loyal customers in my head. If you had told me that back then, I would have laughed at you like, what are you talking about? I could never do that. Well, of course, I never did that because I didn't think I could. So now things changed a lot the last year and a half. And so when I had that breakthrough moment in September and October of 2017, for the first time, and this is still funny because Stephanie Dunn is not my enroller, but my ambassador. And she always preaches, like, she knows exactly how many distributors she needs to get in a month to hit her goal, whatever that is. And then she it's like each week she has a number, right, based on the number of distributors she needs to get. So she's very, very precise. For some reason, I didn't follow that advice for almost 3 years, but I started doing that then. So I looked at, okay, at that point, I was going back and forth between double and diamond in terms of my paid as rank. And I said, I want to go triple. Like if I get triple, that's gonna be so huge for me and my son. And I knew I wanted to hit it like in the spring of 2018. So I kind of backed into, I needed to start hitting steps of success like 3 or 4 times a month. And it's weird. It wasn't that I wasn't confident about recruiting, because I've always been a consistent recruiter, but I just didn't put the numbers in my head, and I didn't put that on myself. So I didn't give myself the roadmap and the expectations, and I instead put ceilings on what I thought was my normal goal. So all of a sudden, guys, I started hitting 12, 13, 14 distributors a month for several months in a row. I actually focused a lot more on distributors because I had a lot of charting to do for triple. So I just said, I'm just going to focus on distributors. If I get customers, that's awesome, but I'm going to focus on distributors. And basically built a third leg from scratch to diamond, and plugged a lot of other holes. Long story short, so that taught me, that whole experience taught me that, Mira, you've been putting a lid on yourself. And then on the distributor side. And then from a customer perspective, when it came to my promotion month, I've never been fantastic at customers, and I wasn't yet doing host to post. But just simply by messaging and basically calling out for like, hey, I'm going for this huge promotion, like who help me? I'm just being really, really transparent and loud about needing help for the promotion. I ended up getting like somewhere between, 6,000 or 7,000 BV in the month of March, which I've never done anything like that before, ever. And I was charted. So, and that was I was messaging a ton of people to do that. So I wanted to give all that expectations because it's like, all right, well, what's your goal? So then once I retired in June, I said, well, I have two choices. I'm retired from corporate America. I could either go sit and watch TV all day and, because when I was the other thing we didn't really talk about, Kelsey, is when I was working full time, plus, effectively a single mom, or even when I was married, like I was the mom, I was the caretaker. I worked my business like 90 minutes a day. And it had to be like super intensely focused. But all of a sudden now I have all this time. I'm like, shit, like, am I going to fall apart? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. You hear all these horror stories, like people fall apart when they retire. But no, I actually was I love working, kind of similar to you. Like I could just work and not even think about it with this business. So I happily didn't have anything like that. But I went on, I said to myself, if I have all this time, I'm going to raise my expectation. And I think if I raise my expectation, I can meet it. So I started recruiting 20 to 30 distributors a month, all through, and again, we had so many kit deals between the $49 kit deals and the $20 ones that I had, that gave a lot of extra fuel. But
girl, don't apologize for
I know, right?
You're like, well, we had all these. No, give yourself all the credit, girl.
All right. But, between June and September, and like November was huge this year. November last month was huge as well. I'm recruiting minimum 15 up to 30 distributors a month. And again, that's not where I started. I think that's important to know. But and then in September for my Pres month, and I charted the middle of, when I entered my Pres month, I was 15 distributors away from charted in September. And I was 15,000 group volume away. Okay. In just terms of like boxes that were dead or new. Okay. We closed 15 distributors by the middle of the month. And then I still had 5,000 GV that I personally had to get where there was no one working. I went crazy. I was sending maybe 100 host-to-post messages a day. The last 2 weeks of September are easy. And you might say, well, doesn't that take a lot of time? Honestly, I did 3 power hours a day, 30 to 50 host-to-post messages during those power hours. It wouldn't even take me a full hour. And I used my Facebook friends list. And then I just did follow-ups, like literally, anytime they came in. And so I closed that. Obviously, the day I went Pres, I still woke up and I had 1,500 BB to get. I was like running around begging and crying. But it all happened. My point is this. So it's situational a little bit in terms of like if you have these huge promotions, like if you're going for Ruby or Emerald, like your volume isn't the numbers that we're talking about. But you can do anything, as long as you don't tell yourself you can't do it. And every promotion, every time I need to do something, one of the biggest strengths that I have is that at this point, I don't ever tell myself I can't do something because every single time I've gone out and freaking done it. And so just do not tell yourself you can't do something. Those of you out there who maybe, you've recruited 1 distributor a month or 2 distributors a month, I want you to start telling yourself, I'm going to recruit 6 distributors a month. And just tell yourself, and that you can and you will. And then it might just start happening, and that's the biggest thing I've learned, Kelsey, is that in so many ways, you've heard my story talk about putting myself in the boxes for Double Diamond as well. Like I just always thought it's Double Diamond. All these boxes we put around ourselves are completely artificial in this business. And again, a lot of what I did was working full time as a single mom, all the way up through 3 months after Triple Diamond. So just be self-aware about those boxes and rip them to shreds. That's all I can say.
Yep. And I think too, it's so important to recognize that like, stop labeling yourself based on what happened 6 months ago in the business. Okay, so you had a month or 2 that you recruited just your steps to success, or you didn't fill your steps to success, and you can just say, well, I'm not a mass enroller. You're basing that off what happened 6 months ago. So stop saying what happened 6 months ago still defines you. Okay. Like that's like saying, oh, I still have strep throat because I got diagnosed 6 months ago with it. No, you don't. You're over it. You can move on and you can give yourself a different diagnosis of that you are a mass enroller. And so like you said, you're right. Like anything that you put your mind to, You can do it. It's just a matter of, are you willing to put in the work, and do you believe that it can truly happen? Because I think that when we start saying, oh, I have to message, or I have to do this, no, you guys, we get this opportunity. And this is just my reminder that, like, to you guys, that stop viewing this as a job. There are parts of every single position that you will ever have in your life, whether it's a mom, whether it's a corporate America, whether it's this business, that you are not going to like. I hate projecting numbers, okay? Because I am 0% green. It takes too much time. I don't like it. But do I do it? Yes, I freaking do it, okay? Because I know that that's going to allow me to enjoy all of the other things that come with this business. I'm sure there's parts that Mira doesn't like. I'm sure there's parts that you don't like. But you have to focus on what that is going to do, where you're going to go, not where you're at right now, but focus on where you are going. And when you focus on where you're going, anything is possible, because what you start thinking about then is who you have to become to get there. And I always tell people I'm super excited to be a millionaire one day, not because of seeing $1 million in the bank, but the person that I know that I have to become to get that money. To how many people I have to help to have that accomplishment, right? And so it's important that you guys realize that, like, who you are right now, if you're not happy with your enrollments, level up and change it with yourself, because it is just something that you've put yourself in a box. Like she said, take the shoulds off of, or the past chains that you've had of, like, oh, well, I can sign 60 customers, but I can only sign 3 distributors, or I can sign distributors, but I can't sign customers. Start focusing on it. I watched this documentary with Warren Buffett, who is the richest person in, I think, America, maybe the world, but I don't know. And he said, they asked him, if you could give one word to describe why you've been successful, what would it be? You want to know what he said? And his partner, on a totally separate interview, said the same word. Focus. Focus. And so often we're so focused on the wrong things, and we're not focused on the things that we can control, which are 2 things: your attitude and your effort. That's it. Everything else, it's external. You can't control it. You can't control how many people sign up. You can't control what happens, like, in all aspects of your life, but you can control how you respond to it, and you can control what your attitude is through the whole thing. And so that's what I would say. If you're going for promotion, if you're excited about what's to come, if you're ready for it, you're going to see so much success. If you're dreading it, if you're complaining about what's happening right now, it's only going to be more of that. Okay. Stop waiting for something. Nobody's going to come save you. This business is you're freaking driving the car. Get in it, turn on the car, and put your foot to the pedal, because it's about to go as fast as you want it to go. And so that's what I have to end with. Mira, do you want to end with anything else?
No, I think that's awesome. That I would say the same thing. It's just, again, from somebody that is agreeing, like, if you're more like me, like, the biggest thing I'll say is the attitude and the effort, and then develop your roadmap. Okay. Know exactly what your targets are. It's the reason, we didn't talk about this a lot, but I went from having 1 diamond on my team to now I have 14 diamonds and above on my team this year alone. And 80% of them are personally enrolled. And that's because we sat down and did a roadmap every single time. And it just really helps to know exactly what you need to do. And even I, as a green, did not do that my first 2 years. So that's the biggest thing. I think, just tactically make sure you know exactly what you need to do and when you're going to do it and who's going to do it.
Yes, I love that. Well, Mira, thank you so much for hopping on. This was so fun. This was amazing. So I appreciate you so much. I'm so proud of everything you accomplished. I can't wait.
Ditto.
What happens in 2019. And thank you guys for hopping on and staying on. I hope you guys